Hello and welcome to my channel. Today's video is about philosophy, but it is not so philosophical because I'm not arguing for or against anything. I'm not articulating any of my philosophical ideas either. And unlike many of my videos on this channel, today's video doesn't require so much critical thinking on your part. Well, maybe a little bit. What I'm doing is to look at one thing that many great philosophers had in common, that is, their eccentric behavior. So, sit back and enjoy the video. If you are new to this channel, my name is Frank Zhu, and I'm a college professor teaching sociology, history, and philosophy. I'm also an award-winning landscape photographer. In human history, great people, especially big thinkers, were rather similar to one another in one way. They were eccentric people. By eccentric, I mean these people behaved in a way that was unusual and different from most other people. Why they became eccentric has always been a puzzling question for me. Is it because they engaged themselves so deep in thinking, so deep that they don't care about other people, and so that their behavior appeared eccentric? Or is it because their eccentric lifestyles facilitated them to become great thinkers? If it was because of their eccentric lifestyle, how did they develop the eccentric lifestyle in the first place? Please let me know what you think in the comments below. Anyway, what I do know is that eccentricity is the hallmark of those great thinkers, and I believe that their eccentric behavior partly contributed to making them famous. Take Albert Einstein, for example, who was widely regarded as one of the greatest and most influential scientists of all time. Not only was he extremely intelligent, he was also very eccentric in daily life. His hair, for example, always looked as if it had just been electrified, and his clothes always looked baggy. What else made him different from others is the fact that he was often seen wearing shoes without socks. He said he hated socks because when he was young, he often found his socks having holes because of his big toes. A funny guy, wasn't he? Another famous thinker, Henry D. Thoreau, was also eccentric. I actually made a video about him a couple of months ago. If you missed it, I'll leave a link down below. Thoreau was a great American philosopher. What made him eccentric was his extremely simple lifestyle. He once built a small cabin in the middle of nowhere and lived in it alone for 2 years, just to prove the point that simple living and self-sufficiency was possible. His eccentric behavior was also demonstrated by his civil disobedience against what he considered an unjust government. For example, he was once arrested and put in jail for one night because he refused to pay tax, which everybody else paid without question and which was the equivalent of just $1. Why did he refuse to pay tax? He said he had never signed a contract with the government, so he had no obligation to pay any tax. Still another great man who was eccentric was the very famous German philosopher Immanuel Kant, who was regarded by many as one of the most brilliant human beings of all time. By the way, just a few weeks ago, I uploaded a video talking about him. Please check it out on my channel. Kant may not be considered so eccentric as the others. Actually, he was not eccentric in the same way as the others. He was normal. In a sense, he was too normal. He was known for his strict and self-imposed discipline and regularity. He did everything at a fixed time every day, and he took his daily walk at the same time, regardless of the weather. When his neighbors saw him emerging from his house with a stick in hand, they knew it was exactly 5 o'clock in the afternoon, because that was always the time when he stopped thinking and writing and came out for a walk every day. Kant didn't like traveling because traveling would interrupt his daily routine. As a matter of fact, he never traveled 80 miles away from his home throughout his life. I can give you many examples of eccentric behavior by great thinkers in the history of philosophy. However, in my opinion, no philosopher has been more eccentric than Socrates, the revered founder of Western philosophy who lived in Greece over 2,000 years ago. First of all, his personal life was eccentric. Every day he would be out and about on the Athens streets. Nobody ever remembered seeing him in new or clean clothes or even shoes. Very often he was seen standing on a corner, posing questions to everyone who was passing by and who would stop to listen to him. The way he did philosophy was eccentric too. Oftentimes, he would start by asking seemingly strange questions, such as, "What is the meaning of your life?" He would draw your attention with a penetrating look and an exaggerated hand gesture. Of course, you were caught off guard because you had never bothered to think about such a question. More stunning to you was his next sentence. "You should die if you don't know the meaning of your own life." Then he would embark on his long but fascinating lecture. His unconventional but interesting speeches often drew big crowds of people, especially young people. For them, he would lecture on how to rebel against their parents. In the eyes of the parents of those young people, of course, he was indeed eccentric. Socrates was eccentric in another way. He never wrote a book. There seem to be 2 reasons for this, neither of which is eccentric though. First of all, writing was never as good as a face-to-face conversation or debate for Socrates. In a conversation, both of you could put questions directly at each other and answer questions immediately. But when a reader had a question or a disagreement, he couldn't find you for an answer or start a debate with you. Writing a book was also dangerous to you as a writer because a book could only express and explain so much and could never catch up with changing times, ideas, and new knowledge. After some time, your book would become obsolete and you would look ignorant or stupid to new generations. Socrates himself was always asking questions, always learning new things, and therefore always developing new ideas. Writing a book which could adequately discuss those ever-developing ideas seemed to him impossible. Now, you may wonder, if Socrates didn't write anything, how come we know so much about him and his philosophy? Well, it is through his student, Plato, who wrote a lot about Socrates. Socrates was so different that even his death seemed eccentric. Because of his preaching to young people on independence and rebelling against their parents, he was charged with impiety and corrupting the young. He was tried, found guilty, and sentenced to death. Though he was urged by his students and disciples to flee Athens and escape execution, Socrates stayed because he said he should abide by the law which he had always believed in. So he drank the hemlock that was given to him as the execution and died of the poison. Isn't it an irony that he died to protect the law that had found him guilty of breaking the law and condemned him to death? How eccentric he was. Well, that is all that I wanted to talk about today. As I said at the beginning, I believe that eccentric behavior played an important role in making great thinkers great. Such belief leads me to think that I will never become a famous person because I'm so normal. Everything about me is so conventional, so common, so normal, just like everyone else. It is sad, isn't it? Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.